So we were having conversations about this in April, May, and June of 2020, and asking similar questions. Everyone was confused, asking questions about masks, about distancing, about the economy. Great Barrington Declaration. Martin Kulldorff was on the show, and other people asking about if it came from a lab in Wuhan. Now, the first few got us taken off these tech platforms. Mentioning Wuhan would have gotten you sent to the loony bin at that point. I mean, that was almost code red. And again, I got an engineering degree from MIT. I mean, science as I know it is that we question things, we talk about ideas, we get them out in the open. I always used to joke, Matt, that the flat earthers on YouTube remained. The flat earth videos on YouTube were there. And if you want to watch them, you can watch them and you can debate them, and that's okay. Right. But anything asking questions about the virus or the origin virus was silenced. And the reason I bring it up is because in your investigation, there's a lot of powers involved here, from the Chinese Communist government to Fauci in America and pharmaceutical companies, et cetera. So how does this unfold? And this becomes very not about science very quickly, right?
That's true. Alina's a practicing scientist. I've been a journalist most of my career, although I started as a scientist. We brought different skills to this. She could, interrogate the science in great depth, and I, to some extent, was interested in just the simple journalistic practice of following trails to see where they led. Now, what was quite interesting is that, as you say, turning to Western scientists and saying, "Please, can you tell me what you're finding out about the origin of this new disease that's killing people?" was pretty useless. There was almost nobody interested. There was a little bit going on. As you say, it was very hard to talk about it on social media. Twitter was an exception. You could talk about it on Twitter, and that turned out to be vital. Facebook was censoring this. But if you contacted mainstream scientists, and I did, I contacted senior people at the Royal Society and others and said, "What do you think?" And they would say, no, we can rule that out. So, well, why can you rule it out? Well, it's just been ruled out. You don't need to worry about the why. We understand these things, you don't. It's not quite what they were saying, but it wasn't far off. So the scientists were not much help. The journalists were not much help, with a few honourable exceptions. Ian Birrell on the Mail, John Sudworth at the BBC, who tried to go to this Mojiang site. Most journalists said, no, that's a conspiracy theory, we're not even going to investigate it. Well, if you're a sniffing newshound wanting to make a career, why not, have a go at this? It's a really interesting question. How did this pandemic start? So that was disappointing. And the science journalists, worst of all, they would just say in a very patronizing tone, "You don't know what you're talking about. I work for Nature or New Scientist or something like that. And I can tell you, I've talked to my friend, Dr. Fauci, and he says no." Well, that isn't quite good enough. The point of science is you don't take arguments from authority, you take arguments from evidence, right? If you want arguments from authority, join the Catholic Church. That's the way it works. So the scientists weren't much good, the journalists weren't much good, politicians weren't much good, they weren't finding out very much. The spooks weren't much good. I mean, I had conversations with senior intelligence officials in the US who said to me in conspiratorial tones, "We've just found out the following." And on one occasion I said, "Not only have I read that in the media, I've written that in the media." Is that all you've got? So that wasn't much help. The heroes for us of the story were what we call the internet sleuths. And these were a bunch of completely random people who got interested in this story and turned out to have the forensic skills to pursue rabbit holes in the internet and find out where they led. There's a guy in India called the Seeker. His real name is Jeet Ray, and but he goes under the name of the Seeker. He's quite happy for us to tell the world who he is in our book. But he's a young man in Bhubaneswar who, as he puts it, knows how to use search engines. Well, that sounds pretty simple. But what he means by that is he got hold of some login details for Chinese websites where academic theses were stored. And he found some goldmine information. He found these 9 viruses 8 of these 9 viruses that they weren't talking about. He found the thesis that described what happened to those 6 guano miners, 3 of whom died at the Mojiang mine, and so on. So then there's a guy in Spain called Francisco Ribera, he's basically a professional auditor. He knows how to audit companies, right? And he knows that what you do is you look for missing invoices, to see whether or not somebody's fiddling their expenses or whatever it might be. So he starts to compile what he calls a big Sudoku, which is every serial number of every virus that the Wuhan Institute of Virology has collected, and where they're collected and what the genome of the virus looks like, etc. Now, some of this stuff is published. It's dumped on genetic databases and other things. Others you can infer from other things, or you can find it from secret sources or something. But eventually he's compiling an itinerary for these guys. On what date were they at which cave in Yunnan? And which serial numbers correspond to that expedition to that cave? And he eventually says, hang on, they've collected 8 other SARS-like viruses from the Mojiang mine shaft that they've not told us about, and they're closely related to SARS-CoV-2. In fact, they're the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th most closely related at the time virus to SARS-CoV-2. So, Francisco is another very good example of he was doing this in his spare time. Both of these guys live with their mums. This isn't, to start with, everybody said, the Seeker must be something to do with CIA or Indian intelligence. It certainly wasn't true then. It may be now, for all I know. But there's another guy called Barbal Elephant. I don't actually know his real name, but he turned out to be vital on a couple of issues. Gilles Demoneuf is a French guy living in New Zealand who found out an extraordinary amount. And a Brit called Charles Small found out that the database of viruses that the lab had in storage, either physical samples or sequences in the computer, they had this huge database, 22,000 entries, went offline at 2 a.m. On the 12th of September 2019. Now, it came back on briefly in February, but not accessible from outside, only accessible within the lab. Most of it was password protected anyway. Now, that's their complete record of their viruses. They've published a lot of the viruses they've worked on up till 2016. They've published almost nothing since then of viruses they've collected since 2016. So if they want to exonerate themselves in that lab, if they want to say, look, we had nothing to do with this, the easiest thing for them to do is to publish that database, say, look, there's our database, there's no SARS-2-like viruses in it, case closed. That would blow us out the water. Why don't they do that? I've challenged them again and again on this, and the answer comes back, because you might hack it. What does that mean? If you've published something, you don't have to hack it. It's a sort of meaningless remark. So it's possible there's an innocent explanation for why they won't publish it. They're just so furious at being asked that they think it's impertinent of the world to demand to see that. And anyway, they want to keep things secret because they want to publish about them in the future. Well, hang on. North of 10 million people are dead. Don't you think we ought to be as transparent with each other as we can about what we know about this virus to try and help find out what happened? So, that database, to me, is as powerful a point as one can make. They know what viruses they had in the lab up till the end of 2019. They won't tell us. Why not?
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim, watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, do you want to profit from crypto? Then join my DeFi Academy. The Crypto DeFi Academy will help you create generational wealth. But don't take my word for it. Listen to my students.
When I first got into crypto, I remember thinking to myself, I need to learn more. Brian Rose, learning crypto, learning DeFi, gotta do it.
I am so grateful that I jumped in and did this. I had to break through some limiting beliefs that I can do this, that I can afford this, that I can be in this.
It challenges the things that are deeply rooted within us.
Joining DeFi Academy has been one of the best decisions I have made on my blockchain journey.
This course was a life changer, a game changer, a huge eye-opener, coming from knowing practically nothing at the speed of the learning over 4 weeks was just fantastic.
The information you provided in this class was invaluable.
I feel far more confident in my next steps.
You took complex concepts and made them easier to understand.
What's different than so many other ones is it just doesn't tell you what to do. It actually makes you do it.
This is for people who are serious about becoming traders. This is the way it should be done.
I realized from this learning experience again that it is not about what you learn, but about who you learn it from.
The energy was insane. I've never experienced such incredible energy on a live call. Brian Rose, you are a legend, my friend.
It's the only thing in the market where you can get all information and learn everything what you need to know.
Everything is so clear and so well done, and I'm just forever grateful for this program.
It made me feel so much more confident about crypto than I did before.
I did not anticipate how passionate I was going to become about it.
It's also been like a big learning experience for me, not just in the crypto space, but just in overall balance of life.
What I've learned is, how to take ownership, of my life in a way that I really hadn't before.
Yeah, you can't put a price on that, really.
I would recommend it to anybody, top notch.
Excellence does not come cheap. So if you want excellence, you gotta pay for it, but it's so worth it.
Pull the trigger. That's what this course is about.
You're not going to regret it, really. It's amazing.
Thank you, Brian and team.
So what are you waiting for? Crypto is happening now. Click the link below, submit your application, and let me mentor you on how to create generational wealth and build the decentralized financial infrastructure of the future.